Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I am Tanvi Taneja and with me is Anuja Kumar with the Midday News. The headlines. Government committed to the development of Gaon, Garib and Kisan in the country, says Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar in Rajya Sabha. Reserve Bank of India projects GDP at 10.5% in 2021-22, keeps repo rate unchanged at 4%. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh says startup initiative generated 4.7 lakh jobs in the defence sector. President Ramnath Kovind to take part in Aero India show concluding in Bengaluru at 3 p.m. today. Over 49 lakh people administered COVID-19 vaccines in the country. And England were 126 for 2 at tea in the first innings of the first cricket test against India at Chennai. Union Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar asserted in Rajya Sabha that the government under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi is committed towards the development of Gaon, Garib and Kisan in the country.
प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी की सरकार गांव, गरीब और किसान के लिए पूरी तरह प्रतिबद्ध है और आने वाले कल में भी प्रतिबद्ध रहेगी। 15वें वित्त आयोग ने 2,36,850 करोड़ रुपया ग्राम पंचायतों को देने का रिकमेंडेशन किया है, उसको मंत्रिपरिषद ने स्वीकार कर लिया है। 70,000 करोड़ रुपया नगरीय और ग्रामीण क्षेत्र के निकायों के लिए स्वास्थ्य के लिए देना उन्होंने रिकमेंड किया है। उसमें ग्रामीण निकाय के लिए 43,000 करोड़ रुपया लगभग है। ग्रामीण क्षेत्र में अब इन 5 सालों में ग्राम पंचायतों के माध्यम से 2,80,000 करोड़ रुपया व्यय होगा, जिसका परिणाम ग्रामीण विकास के रूप में आएगा।
Rajya Sabha today reconvened to discuss further the motion of thanks on the President's address to the joint sitting of both houses of Parliament. Participating in the discussion, Mr. Tomar said that despite holding a series of threadbare level talks with the farmer unions, none of the unions came up with the provisions which they think are contentious.
भारत सरकार नरेंद्र मोदी जी का नेतृत्व पूरी तरह किसानों के प्रति प्रतिबद्ध है, किसानों के प्रति समर्पित है। हम लोगों ने लगातार उनको सम्मान देने की कोशिश की है, 12 बार ससम्मान बुलाकर बातचीत की है। हमने जो उनकी भावना के अंतर्गत जिन बिंदुओं को चिन्हित किया जा सकता था, उनको भी चिन्हित करके बताया कि आपको यह शंका है कि एपीएमसी खत्म हो जाएगी, तो हम इस पर विचार करते हैं, एपीएमसी खत्म नहीं होगी। हमने एक के बाद एक उनको प्रस्ताव देने का भी प्रयत्न किया, लेकिन मैंने साथ में ये भी कहा कि अगर भारत सरकार किसी भी संशोधन के लिए तैयार है, इसके मायने ये नहीं लगाना चाहिए कि किसान कानून में कोई गलती है, लेकिन किसान आंदोलन पर है। पूरे एक राज्य में गलतफहमी का शिकार हैं लोग।
The minister said the farm laws allow farmers to sell their produce even outside the APMC mandis. He added that in the open market, the farmers are not required to pay the tax levied in the mandis. Responding to multiple queries of the opposition members regarding contract farming in the Farm Acts, the minister emphatically asserted that in order to protect the interests of the farmers, the provisions of the new laws allow farmers to move out of the contract any time.
किसानों को इस बात के लिए बरगलाया गया है कि ये कानून आपकी जमीन को ले जाएंगे। मैं कहता हूं कॉन्ट्रैक्ट फार्मिंग के एक्ट में कोई एक प्रावधान बताए जो प्रावधान किसी भी किसान की जमीन छीनने की इजाजत देता है, लेकिन लोगों को भड़काया जा रहा है, जमीन चली जाएगी और किसान इस एक्ट से कभी भी बाहर हो सकता है। व्यापारी कभी भी बिना पैसे दिए इस एक्ट से बाहर नहीं हो सकता।
Mr. Tomar said the government is committed towards the goal of doubling farmers' income and the new farm laws are an instrument to achieve the same. The Agriculture Minister said that the country showed exemplary discipline during COVID-induced lockdown in the country. He said the decisions taken by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and their strict adherence by the citizens is praiseworthy, which resulted in achieving a healthy recovery rate of patients. Mr. Tomar added that the country witnessed complete turnaround in its capacity to manufacture PPE kits, putting it in a spot that it could even export it to other countries. He said India has started a vaccination drive against COVID along with extending helping hands to other countries as well. Mr. Tomar said Prime Minister Narendra Modi has always advocated for making village panchayats financially strong. He said the Swamitva scheme, which was implanted on a pioneer basis in 6 states, has now been extended to all states. Lauding the revamping of MG-Narega scheme under the NDA government, Mr. Tomar asserted that unlike the handling of the scheme under the UPA regime, the government has ensured that work done under MG-Narega adds viable infrastructure in the country.
मनरेगा के अंतर्गत बनने वाली लाखों जो संरचनाएं हैं उनको जियोटैग करने का काम किया। मनरेगा के मजदूर को उसके अकाउंट में पैसा जाए मजदूरी केंद्र सरकार से यह सुनिश्चित किया। मनरेगा में निरंतर पैसे को बढ़ाया और जब पिछले बार कोविड का संकट आया तो 61,000 करोड़ का बजट था, उस बजट को बढ़ाकर 1,11,500 करोड़ रुपया देना सुनिश्चित किया। तो मनरेगा के माध्यम से 10 करोड़ से अधिक लोगों को रोजगार मिला। 324 लाख करोड़ मानव दिवस सृजित हुए।
The minister said the self-help groups in rural India have been empowered financially to reinvigorate developmental efforts in villages. Highlighting the achievements of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin, Mr. Tomar said that the government has taken significant efforts towards easing of life in rural India. The Agriculture Minister informed that about 1,15,000 crore rupees have been sent directly into the accounts of farmers in the country under the PM Kisan Yojana. Adding that the country has nearly 86% small and marginal farmers, Mr. Tomar said that the centre has decided to create 10,000 new farmer-producer organizations, FPOs, with a financial aid of over 6,000 crore. He said these FPOs will help the small and marginal farmers to make use of the best infrastructure for farming along with easing other aids to them. Mr. Tomar said the government provided 1 lakh crore rupees for creation and upscaling of agriculture infrastructure in the country. He added that 100 Kisan rails started by the centre has also helped farmers to reach out to bigger and profitable markets. Participating in the discussion, BJP MP Dr. Vinay Sahasrabuddhe said people are experiencing democracy of aspirations under the current government. Underscoring the several rounds of talks between the government and the farmer unions, he said the government is still open for discussions with the farmers on the issue of farm laws to root out the differences. Highlighting a series of reforms under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Dr. Sahasrabuddhe said the centre has devolved powers to states and district authorities in order to ease accessibility of developmental funds. He said centre is working with the vision of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas and Sabka Vishwas, and that has led the country to move on from discovery of India to self-realization of India. The opposition leaders continued with their demand, however, to withdraw the farm laws even on the third day of the discussion on the motion of thanks on the President's address. Satish Chandra Mishra of the Bahujan Samaj Party proposed that the centre should put the farm laws on hold for 3 years. Meanwhile, he said a resolution to the impasse can be worked out through broader discussion. Mr. Mishra condemned the violence at the Red Fort on the occasion of the 72nd Republic Day this year. CPI member Vinay Vishwam demanded that the 3 farm laws be repealed. Sardar Sukhdev Singh Dhindsa of the Shiromani Akali Dal asked for a scientific basis for calculation of MSP. He asked the government to roll back the farm laws. The discussion is underway in the upper house. Lok Sabha will also resume discussion on the motion of thanks on the President's address. Besides, private members' legislative business has also been listed in the proceedings of the House.
The Reserve Bank of India, RBI, today said that the Monetary Policy Review has decided to continue with an accommodative stance of monetary policy to maintain status quo on key policy rates. This will continue as long as necessary, at least through the current financial year and into next year to revive growth and mitigate the impact of COVID-19. The repo rate is kept unchanged at 4% and the reverse repo rate at 3.35%. The RBI extends moratorium on term loans for a further period of 3 months till August 31st. In view of the extension of the lockdown and continuing disruption on account of COVID-19, 3-month moratorium allowed on term loans and working capitals are being further extended by another 3 months from June to August 31st. While announcing the policy review, the RBI Governor Shaktikant Das said that the GDP growth is projected at 10.5% in financial year 2021-22.
GDP growth is projected at 10.5% in 21-22, in the range of 26.2% to 8.3% in H1 and 6% in Q3 of the coming financial year, that is 21-22.
The RBI Governor said projection of CPI inflation has been revised to 5.2% for the fourth quarter of the current financial year.
The projection for CPI inflation has been revised to 5.2% for Q4 of the current financial year, that from January to March, and to 5.2% to 5% in the H1. And for Q3 of next year, we are projecting 4.3%. And we are assessing that the risks would be broadly balanced.
Mr. Das added that the year 2020 tested the capabilities and endurance, while 2021 is setting the stage for a new economic era in the course of our history. Shaktikant Das said that the normalization is picking up pace in India as fears of a second wave of the coronavirus abate.
Consumer confidence is reviving and business expectations of manufacturing, services and infrastructure remain upbeat. The movement of goods and people and domestic trading activity are growing at a robust pace. Electricity and energy demand reflect a broader normalization of economic activity than in December, even as fears of a second wave abate. Data for sales and new launches of residential units in major metropolitan centers reflect a renewed confidence in the real estate sector. Manufacturing, services and composite purchase managers index PMI are in expansion zones.
Banking experts have welcomed the monetary policy statement of Reserve Bank of India. Siddharth Sanyal, Chief Economist and Head of Research, Bandhan Bank, said that while the RBI maintained the status quo on key policy rates as expected, the central bank turned distinctly more comfortable on recovery in growth and softening in inflation prints despite uptick in global commodity prices such as metals and energy. The RBI clearly and rightly prefers continuing with their accommodative monetary policy stance as long as necessary to continue supporting the nascent recovery in growth. He further said that the central bank remains focused to ensure that the enhanced government borrowing can sail through in a non-disruptive fashion. Also, normalization in CRR maintenance starting late March, as has been announced in today's policy, will offer more room to the RBI to modulate and cater to the market's liquidity needs through other instruments such as open market operations that should also be supportive for bonds. Talking to AIR News, economist Naveen Gupta described the initiatives of the central bank as progressive.
Today, RBI has come out with monetary policy. It has predicted growth rate of 10.5%, which is very, very progressive. And RBI has maintained policy rate intact, which is also growth oriented. And the most important thing is RBI has mentioned that the manufacturing capacity utilization has gone up from 47% in Q1 to 63% in Q2. So that is also indicative that in times to come, since we had a very growth oriented budget, so this is going to complement the growth oriented path shown by the finance minister. And RBI has also indicated that the Atmanirbhar package that was announced has started showing results.
You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Government committed to the development of Gaon, Garib and Kisan in the country, says Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar in Rajya Sabha. Reserve Bank of India projects GDP at 10.5% in 2021-22, keeps repo rate unchanged at 4%. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh says startup initiative generated 4.7 lakh jobs in the defence sector. President Ram Nath Kovind to take part in Aero India show concluding in Bengaluru in a short while from now. Over 49 lakh people administered COVID-19 vaccine in the country. England were 126 for 2 at tea in the first innings of first cricket test against India at Chennai. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle @AIR News Alerts.
चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो कुछ वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Midday News. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has said that Startup India initiative of the central government has encouraged 41,000 startups, thus generating 4.7 lakh jobs and fetching an investment of 4,500 crore rupees. The Defence Minister was speaking at the Startup Manthan seminar on the sidelines of Aero India show today in Bengaluru.
Startup India was based on 3 major pillars. First, simplification and hand-holding. Second, funding and incentives. And third, incubation and industry academia partnerships. With resounding success since its start, the program today boasts an ecosystem of more than 41,000 startups and 4.7 lakh jobs reported by them. Also, rupees 4,500 crore of investment made in 384 startups through Funds of Fund scheme. In such an ecosystem, it will not be an exaggeration to say that our economy is soon going to be driven by these startups.
The Defence Minister said that programs such as Defence India Startup Challenge, Innovators for Defence Excellence, Startup Manthan and IDEX awards have acted as force multipliers to improve indigenous defence capabilities and technology-driven startup ecosystem in the country.
Attaining self-reliance in the manufacturing of defense equipment is a crucial factor for maintaining India's strategic autonomy. The IDEX initiative stands out as one of the most effective and well-executed defense startup ecosystems created in our country. I believe it is a decisive step towards achieving self-reliance in the true spirit of the Atmanirbhar Bharat campaign. With this aim in view, we have taken many steps to foster and encourage this partnership with private industry.
The encouragement to startups in the defence sector, he noted, has created corporate models for developing cutting-edge technology in weapon systems within the country, making our nation self-reliant and Atmanirbhar. The minister informed that under the IDEX scheme, over 1,200 startups and innovators were provided opportunity to sell their ideas.
More than 1,200 startups and innovators have participated in Defence India Startup Challenge. Out of these, more than 60 startups have won in 30 technological areas under these challenges. I am proud to say that these brilliant innovators have been given grants of up to rupees 1.5 crore each to build these prototypes. Some examples of these innovations being high-altitude pseudo-satellites created by New Space Research and Technologies Private Limited.
Speaking about the IDEX for 4J program, Mr. Singh talked about the innovation of Lieutenant Deepak Suman Kumar, who was awarded today for developing robotics for maritime applications, and another 4G innovator, Major Anup Mishra, who was awarded for developing wall-penetrating radar. The minister informed that 45 MSMEs participating in the Aero India show have gained orders worth 203 crore rupees to supply defence equipment. Aero India, Asia's biggest show, will conclude today in Bengaluru with President Ramnath Kovind gracing the valedictory program. The concluding day will also have a Bandhan ceremony where over 200 MOUs will be signed for the promotion of defence production within the country. Seminars on defence industrial corridors in UP and Telangana and opportunities for aerospace industries in Karnataka will be held today. Industry bodies like FICCI and ASSOCHAM are holding seminars on opportunities in the defence production sector. DRDO, the premier R&D organization in the defence sector, will hold seminar on energizing R&D capabilities with industry, academia and certification aspects for Atmanirbhar Bharat. The third day of the show will also have a display by Indian and foreign fighter aircraft. The exhibition area has been attracting visitors since day one. That gives a peep into the defence production sector and opportunities available in aerospace and military war gears manufacturing.
A total of over 49,59,000 people have been administered COVID-19 vaccines in the country so far. Union Health Ministry said that more than 5,09,000 people have been inoculated with COVID-19 doses in the last 24 hours. The ministry said 61% of beneficiaries vaccinated are from 8 states and union territories. Uttar Pradesh accounts for 11.9% of the total beneficiaries vaccinated in India. Meanwhile, the country's COVID-19 recovery rate reached 97.16% with a total recovery of more than 15,000 patients in the last 24 hours. The ministry said that more than 1 crore 4 lakh patients have already recovered from this disease. Presently, the total number of active cases in the country is 1,51,460, which comprises only 1.40% of the total positive cases. A total number of 12,408 new cases have been reported in the country in the past 24 hours, taking the cumulative positive cases to over 1 crore 8 lakh. The Health Ministry said 120 deaths have been reported during the last 24 hours, taking the toll to over 1,54,000 across the country. The Indian Council of Medical Research said that various laboratories have conducted more than 7,15,000 tests of coronavirus samples during the last 24 hours, and more than 19 crore 99 lakh tests have been done in the country so far. Over 3,39,000 healthcare workers vaccinated so far in Madhya Pradesh. More from our Bhopal correspondent.
On the second day of mop-up round, Madhya Pradesh recorded 8,664 vaccinations of healthcare workers. The health department had organized a 2-day mop-up round on February 3rd and 4th for those healthcare workers who had missed the vaccination in the first round. Barring a few districts like Bhopal, Burhanpur, Khandwa, the day 2 of mop-up round was carried out in all the districts. The state recorded 22% vaccination at 473 session sites. Alirajpur recorded highest 87% of vaccination in the state. State Immunization Officer Santosh Shukla said that the vaccination of the frontline workers will start from February 8th. Pooja Pivardhan, AIR News, Bhopal.
In Bihar, 3,11,475 people have been vaccinated in the state so far. In all, 47,209 health workers were vaccinated for COVID-19 during the past 24 hours. No side effect has been reported from any part of the state. Today is the last day for the ongoing vaccination drive for healthcare workers. Health Minister Mangal Pandey said the second phase of COVID-19 vaccination involving frontline workers will start from tomorrow. COVID-19 recovery rate has improved to 99.04% in Bihar, which is 1.91% more than the national average. 2,58,556 patients have so far recovered from COVID-19 infection in the state. The number of active cases of COVID-19 is continuously declining in the state. Currently, only 999 people are receiving treatment at various hospitals. In all, 109 patients recovered in the last 24 hours, while 64 new COVID cases were reported. 2 constables of the Border Security Force, BSF, have gone missing from a camp in Rajouri district late last evening. Official sources told that both the constables of general duty category were posted in BSF camp at Sundarbani sub-district headquarters in Rajouri district. A missing report has been lodged by the BSF battalion at Sundarbani police station after the duo went missing.
Schools in the national capital reopened for students of class 9 and class 11th today. Earlier, the Delhi government had resumed schools for classes 10th and 12th in view of the upcoming CBSE board exams. All schools in the national capital were physically shut since March last year in order to avoid the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. Education Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank has said the bond between India and ASEAN countries in the field of education, science and technology has strengthened under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Addressing the concluding session of the first ASEAN India Hackathon 2021, Mr. Pokhriyal said, India and ASEAN countries have become perfect examples of energy, synergy and international collaboration for other countries to emulate. He said if the human resources and national resources of India and ASEAN countries are properly utilized, then a new dimension will open for the betterment of humanity and the world. Speaking on the occasion, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar said that ASEAN-India Hackathon offers a unique platform for our youngsters to put their minds and energies together. The hackathon concluded with more than 300 students, mentors and officials participating from 10 ASEAN countries and India.
The first meeting of the Joint Working Group in the field of renewable energy between India and Bahrain was held yesterday in virtual format. Dr. Abdul Hussain bin Ali Mirza, President of Sustainable Energy Authority, led the Bahraini delegation. The Indian delegation was led by Dinesh Dayanand Jagdale, Joint Secretary, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. In business news, benchmark domestic stocks today surged around 0.5% in intraday trade to hit fresh record highs. The Sensex and the Nifty climbed for the fifth straight session amid positive global market cues. The Sensex gained to trade above 50,800 mark, while the Nifty climbed to trade around 15,000 level. The Sensex was trading 237 points or 0.47% up at 50,851. The NSE Nifty also gained 65 points or 0.44% to trade at 14,961. At the Forex market, the rupee appreciated 5 paise to 72 rupees and 92 paise against the US dollar in afternoon deals. In cricket, England were 140 runs at the loss of 2 wickets on the opening day of the first test match against India at the M.A. Chidambaram Stadium in Chennai. Earlier, England skipper Joe Root won the toss and chose to bat first. India picked Shahbaz Nadeem and Washington Sundar for the game. The visitors made 4 changes from their last test against Sri Lanka 2 weeks ago. Ben Stokes and Jofra Archer returned after being rested for that series, while Rory Burns and Ollie Pope have also been included in the squad. This game marks the return of international cricket in India after a year-long COVID-19 break. India played last test match before pandemic against Bangladesh on 22nd of November 2019 at the Eden Gardens in Kolkata.
Now let us take a look at the weather update for the day. National capital Delhi will have mainly clear sky. The minimum temperature was 7 degrees Celsius and maximum will be around 21 degrees. Mumbai is witnessing mainly clear sky. Chennai will be witnessing mist in the morning and partly cloudy sky later. The temperature will vary between 21 and 30 degrees Celsius. Kolkata is experiencing mainly clear sky. In Jammu and Kashmir, Srinagar is likely to experience light snow. The temperature will hover between 1 and 7 degrees Celsius. In Jammu, the minimum temperature was 9 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be around 20 degrees. It will witness mist in the morning and clear sky later. Leh is witnessing generally cloudy sky. The minimum temperature was minus 10 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be around 2 degrees. Gilgit will have generally cloudy sky. Temperature hovers between minus 4 and 12 degrees Celsius. In Muzaffarabad, it will witness mainly clear sky. The temperature will hover between 5 and 18 degrees Celsius. Dehradun will be experiencing thunderstorm with hail. Minimum temperature was 8 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be around 18 degrees. Chandigarh will have partly cloudy sky. Temperature is likely to hover between 7 and 20 degrees Celsius. In Hyderabad, the minimum temperature was 14 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be around 29 degrees with partly cloudy sky later.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Government committed to the development of Gaon, Garib and Kisan in the country, says Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar in Rajya Sabha. Reserve Bank of India projects GDP at 10.5% in 2021-22, keeps repo rate unchanged at 4%. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh says Startup Initiative generated 4.7 lakh jobs in the defence sector. President Ramnath Kovind to take part in Aero India show concluding in Bengaluru in a short while from now. Over 49 lakh people administered COVID-19 vaccine in the country. And England were 140 for 2 in the first innings of the first cricket test against India at Chennai. And with that, we end the midday news.